Good evening, buenas tardes, buen dia, buenas noches, whenever you decide, whenever you're watching this or whatever hour that you're watching this. How's everybody doing? Uh, Today is Tuesday. I believe today is the 17th of December. Um, and I'm sitting here just thinking we're coming to the close of the year. We're at the end, very, very end. Hopefully we can all make it there and that we can get there together. Yes, I am home. I'm resting and will probably go to the rooftop shortly to go swimming and to just get some full body exercise in because I have not been doing that. Well, with the exception of going on these tours with my family in Medellin, we did some great tours together. We did the walking tour, we did the Guadalupe tour, and I am super, super excited. I miss my family very much, um, and I love them immensely. And so we're at the close of the year, at the very end of the year. We only have a few more days left. And by the way, I'm celebrating a birthday, January the 6th. Now, I know y'all consider that the day of insurrection, but I call me what you want. But I was here before that day got here. But anyways, I just want to share with you just something from my heart. Those of you that you've been watching my channels, I'm on YouTube and Facebook at the moment. You know how close and dearly I talk about my mother. Um, and if my family was here, I would say our mother, because I do know some people get all in the uptight about me saying my mother, because I've been accused of acting as if she was only my mother. But when you understand communication and conversation and what audience you're talking to, unless we were together, I might say our mother. But when I'm doing something personal, I'll say my mother. And so those of you that are listening that's going to come on, don't get all upset and all offended by my choice of words and verbiage. You can say your mother, I can say my mother, or I can say our mother, right? So I have to say that because these are things that I've had to encounter within my own family and levels of insecurities. I get it. Or personal, take things personal. But I get it. I understand. So, for the sake of helping y'all out and those of my family that are offended by that, let me just say our mother. Okay. So, those who've been watching, if you've been watching for years, you've seen videos of us. Um, I'm more of of course, I've shared it before. I'm the baby of eight, and I'm more of the more. I was the more. Um, I'm the more affectionate one, right? I was affectionate towards. Now, not that the rest of them didn't show her affection, but I was the one that would hug on her, tell her how much I love her, take her. We would just go. Anyways, and at the end of every conversation, I would always say, "I love you." Now, I didn't always do that, especially when I was living there, because I didn't see that displayed. I didn't hear those terms. It was after I moved away that I learned to be more expressive. And so I want to talk about, how important it is to honor your parents while they are living, when they can enjoy it, when they can experience it. It's almost like the who coined it that said, "Give me my flowers while I'm alive, while I'm living, while I can smell them." And it's very important that we honor them when they can hear us, feel us, see us, be with us. Um, you want them to experience that love, not just in words, but definitely by your actions. Because you can say "I love you" all day long, but if your action says something else, your words are very empty. It's useless. Is wasted. It carries no weight. It is null. It is void. It has no meaning if you just say "I love you" and then you don't show. I love you. Something similar to if you're in a relationship and your partner beats you and abuse you, but tell you, I love you, because the words and the actions are not adding up at all. And so it's very important that while they are alive, that you're able to tell them how much you care for them, show them how much you care for them, do for them. Yes, they were designed to get on our nerves. They're going to get on your nerves. Parents are not going to do it the way you want them to do it. They may they may aggravate you, whatever you call aggravation, because they ask you to do things. But just think about, especially if you got a good parent, if you have good parents. Now, everybody didn't have good parents. I get it. I can't speak from that perspective. I can only speak from having a good parent. Some of you, I understand. Maybe your grandmother was your parent. Maybe an aunt was your mother. Maybe someone adopted you. I get it. But right now, I'm speaking solely from the perspective of having a good parent or having good parents. Now, our mother raised all eight of us. Hey, Q, what's happening? Our mother raised all eight of us. The father was absent, right? Let me just back up. I'm not going to even go there. But what I am saying is, it's so important that you honor them while they are alive, because once they are gone, it ain't no need of you talking about, oh, I asked mama to forgive me. Oh, I talked to her in my dreams, or I sat somewhere and had a conversation and talked to mama. How did you do that? That parent is gone. Now, you may do it to help your own consciousness, to help your own conscience, to alleviate some of the wrongdoings that was done, or some regret, because there are a lot of people who are living in regret. And the reason why I'm saying why it's important that you love your parents and show them love while they're alive, so that when they transition, not if, when they transition and go to that other side, that you don't have to live in guilt. And then you don't have to make up stories and lies and pretend that you were there when you weren't there, or that you cared so much for them when your actions showed them you didn't while they were alive. For some reason, and I know now the reason, but people often would like to suggest after their parents are gone, especially when they weren't kind or respectful to their parents, they like to make up these stories to help their own conscience, to make them feel better about the guilt that they are experiencing because they didn't handle them well, and they didn't handle them with care and with respect while they were here on this earth. You could have given them their flowers, give them their flowers while they are alive so they could smell them, experience them. We're all going to have human experiences where you may not necessarily agree with what your parents are saying. And you may have fallouts, but guess what? Your teeth will bite your tongue sometimes because it gets in the way. If it may be a bite, the closure of your mouth may not be correct, so you might bite the tongue. But get this, when you bite the tongue, do you snatch the teeth out of your mouth because it bit the tongue? Or you feel like the tongue got in the way? Do you snatch your tongue out? Metaphorically, I'm saying you're going to have disagreements, but do you throw that away because you had a disagreement? Some people had one big disagreement with their parents and they never got an opportunity. They had the opportunity. They never corrected it before they transitioned. So now people are living with so much guilt, and the parents are in the grave or wherever they are in a box with ashes because they did not correct. They didn't use corrective measures to correct the disagreement because you thought just the disagreement, it destroyed your whole life. It didn't. All you have to, we are adults. And so it's important that you give them their flowers while they're here, because so that you won't have to live in so much guilt and tell so many lies, big pies, and fan flies about how you were there for them. And then there are those who will go as far back as when they did do for them 50 years ago, but didn't do for them at that latter part of their life. And they relish in, or they live in, what they did in 1970 and 1980, but mishandled them at their death. So, yes, do I miss our mother? I do. Um, I don't cry as much, but I remember an old lady, excuse me, she was an elderly lady in the rehab center with my mom, because our mother had, for the sake of those of you, I'm going to say our mother had bone cancer, multiple myeloma, and her thigh bone broke and she fell. And so she had to go to rehab, which the rehab didn't really help her because they weren't doing their job. And I can't tell you how I carried on something bad because of how they saw her as a number. But I corrected that. I went in that office and had a meeting with the staff. Needless to say, when I left, they were in tears because I wanted to let them know uh, that my mother may be a number to them, but she's not a number to me. And it's because she's my mother. And oftentimes these facilities will mishandle and mistreat your loved ones, especially if you don't go and see about them. And I remember on many, many occasions, I would sit there in the hospital along with some of my other siblings, Earl, I think so. My brother Leonard and my sister-in-law Nat was there at times when I couldn't be there immediately. I remember having her sent over to Gainesville, and I asked them to go and sit with her until I got there because I didn't want her to be there alone. And I never wanted her to feel neglected. Always wanted her to feel the love from her children, and we all had a way of showing it towards her, and some. And so um, I remember having them go sit with her until I drove from Atlanta to Gainesville, Florida. And I would sit on many occasions. And I remember sitting there through the night, day and night, night and day. And I remember the nurses saying to me, this is different. And we don't often see this. And it's important that their loved ones come, because now we know somebody actually care about them. Because if they feel as if the family don't care, they're going to mishandle them as well. They're not going to care. There's nobody there showing up. Um, to show their care for them, right? So it's important when you put loved ones in a facility for whatever reason you need to go see about them. Don't forget the elderly. So think about how they got you. They may get on your nerves now, but think about how they raised you and they had to change you, and you got on their nerves. You aggravated them, but they still, because you were their child, they still dealt with you and they still handled you. They still loved you with care. Now they may have had to discipline you for whatever reason, and it's okay. So as they get older, the roles reverse. And so we have to care for them, and we have to give them instructions, and we have to change them at times, and we have to handle them with so much care, regardless of how many times they call your name. Look at how many times you call their name. You called them mommy, mama, mama when you were growing up, and you aggravated them, but they still showed up. Even some that were adults that aggravated their parents, and they still showed up. I know our mother didn't cease being a mom. And even on our hospital bed, she didn't cease from being a mother. But our roles were to care for her as if it was us, and she would care for us. And so when you have done all that you can do, all that is within your power to do, to care for them and to express your love to them and express your kindness with action, not just words, but with deed. When you express that to them, when they shut their eyes, you don't have to feel guilty. Back to what I was saying, there was this when she was in the facility, and I said, I don't cry as much. There was a senior lady there. She was in her 90s, and she was listening to me and my mom's conversation in the rehab center. I wanted to make sure I would drive to Gainesville, Florida. We would go sit, and we would take her in a wheelchair because at this point she was wheelchair bound. And this senior lady couldn't hardly see, but she heard us. She said, "Is that your mom?" I said, "Yes." She said, "Please." She said, "I love this." She said, "I'm not trying to interrupt your conversation, but I wish I had somebody to do for me like you're doing for your mom and talk to them." Because children don't understand that when when they touch us, it causes us to live longer. It makes us want to live longer. She said, "I wish I had that." She said, "I don't have it." And I could, she said, "I could actually go home, but one of my children, somebody in my family has to say I'll be there with her in order for them to let me go." And nobody wanted to be there with her. She said, "I want to wash my own clothes. I can get around, but I don't have anybody." And my heart dropped because I can't even imagine my parent being there saying, "Okay, we'll let her go home, but if somebody can be there with her, then uh, I didn't understand." But anyway, she told me, she said, "You keep regard." She was very specific, and I didn't know the lady, never seen her before. Other than that time, she was so on target because at that time I was really going through something. I was sitting there watching my mom deteriorate and still trying to, stay high spirited. And this lady said to me, she said, "You keep doing what you're doing." She said, "Regardless of who fights you." And at that time, I was getting a huge fight from a sibling that wanted, boy, I could really go there, that wanted me to fail with her. And they did all that they could do to try to force her into a nursing home, but really fighting me, but it was actually hurting my mother. And that's why I say it's important, really. It's important. And she said to me, she said, "I don't care who don't like it and who's fighting you. You continue to do for your mom, and you continue to serve her, and you continue to love her, even if family don't like it." And she didn't know, my family knows, I was right in the middle of somebody fighting. We're watching our mother deteriorate. And because maybe one person is upset with another, they'll do all that they could, not knowing, maybe so, it was affecting her. But I didn't give up. I'm a fighter, right? And I fight in different ways. And I thought it was sad that everybody wasn't on board. This is my experience, and this is what it is. This is why I can talk from this place. For those of you that is going to watch this, you're going to get fought by your loved ones, other people that's in your family about how you caring for the person that y'all say y'all love. Sometimes it's insecurities and jealousy that creeps in because one feels like the mother treats the other better. It's not that. It's just that every mother has a different connection with their child, and I can't express that enough because I experienced it. And so when she said, regardless of who's fighting you and they don't like what you're doing for her, you continue to do it. She said, because when you do, you could save some water. And I looked at her. She said, "I mean, you could save some water. You won't have to cry as many tears because while is alive, you did for her. You could save some tears." She just said, "You'll save some water." Then she explained to me that I won't cry in a way. My tears may be tears of I miss you and grief, but not because there won't be tears of regret. See, you can all automatically understand being the youngest of eight. It takes me back to Joseph's life um, when the elder was against Joseph because of his dreams and favor. And so, and it's not, and I've had to express over and over again, it is not that our mother loved one more than she did the other. She had to love us and treat us according to our personalities. And every parent should know which child or children would be there for them in the time of need on many levels. Some financial, some emotional, some physical, some on many levels. So when they leave, you won't have to live in regret and wish and I could have, would have when you had the opportunity to do it. If your parents or your loved ones are here, whether it's a sibling, whether it's a mother, whether it's a father, whether it's a cousin, it costs nothing to be nice. Treat people nice. Treat people with fairness. And there will be those that you just cannot eat with, and you, regardless of how you try to pull people together, they're not going to come together. And be okay with that because you're not there to change them. You're there to show up as your authentic self and leave change up to them because we cannot change people. People have to be willing to change. I remember this brings me back to a conversation I had with a family member, and I said to that person, because they was going through some trouble and bad relationship, I said, why don't you come and move with me to Atlanta? I said, I have a house. I have 4 bedrooms. I'm upstairs. There's 3 bedrooms downstairs that I started. 1 bedroom I started using for office in real estate. I said, but I'll connect you with the right people that will help you get a job and show you how to, change your life and get a place of your own that save your money, help you save your money. And I'll never forget that person looked at me. Hey, Nikki, that person looked at me and said, the person first have to want to be helped. You can't help somebody that don't want to be helped. And that's when I backed off because I offered my help. Some people get angry because you want to help them. But when they clearly said to me, I have to want help in order to be helped, I backed off because at that point I knew they didn't want better. And I said to them, I said, you'll always have food. If you're going to stay with me, you're going to always have food. All you need to do is get out there, connect with the people that I'm going to help you connect with to get a job and help you be on your way. And so when they refused my help, I didn't get upset. I heard them loud and clear. And so there will be people that you will want to help, but they don't want your help. And it's okay. But parents, whether the person is the person that raised you, the person that birthed you, it's so important that you do all that you can for them while they are alive. Because once they're gone, I don't want to hear, oh, I went and talked to her in a corner. I talked to her at the casket and told her to forgive me. Listen, you got to live with that the rest of your life. And I know people who are living with that right now, but they are showing it through fighting and quarrelings and dissension and division because they still cannot grasp that the person is gone and they did not do their job. They didn't love them when they were alive. They didn't do for them when they were alive because once they are gone, it ain't no going back. You can go to that graveyard 1,000 times and stand over that grave and say, I'm sorry. You should have said, I'm sorry before they got to the grave. And now you have to find a way to deal with your guilt and your conscience by going to the grave, looking at the ashes, talking to that person. You mean to tell me you can talk to the dead, but you can't talk to the living? You can't apologize to them while they are alive, but you can apologize when they're dead. And this is why, going back to my point that I skipped over, why people wait till you die and then they come up with this fabricated story about how they were there and what they did for them and all of this. Hold on one moment. And what they did, all of this, that, and the other. Okay. And they'll come up with, they'll fabricate this story They'll fabricate their story and say, well, I did this and I loved her too, and that I loved him too, and I loved. No, 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 no. Your action shows something different. So they fabricate the stories after the person died. You know why they're so quick to fabricate the story? Because the person is not here, no longer here to tell other people you're lying. People will make up and tell, oh, how much they loved you after you died. But if you were here to correct the story, they won't be able to say that. People become bold after you die and talk about how they did for you, when in actuality, you didn't. You didn't do for them. You didn't love them while they were alive. You fought them while they were alive. You tried to make things hard for them while they were alive. You didn't speak to them while they were alive. You cut them off. You talked about them like a pit bull with fleas, and you did not handle them correctly. So after they died, now you fabricate a story. So when you treat them properly and handle them with care, you don't have to fabricate a story. All right? My time is up. Be nice to your parents, even when they get on your nerves. Because when you were a child, you got on their nerves. They still parented you if they were a good parent. All right, listen, we're at the end of the year. What you doing with the rest of the time you have left? Let people fight. Let them do whatever they're doing. Don't give any attention to their sideline conversations and their side fights. All right? I love y'all. Take this, chew on it, digest it, and whatever situation you got going on with your parents and you can correct it, go handle that right now. All right, y'all have an amazing day.